My name is Lindsay. This site before you is not some vague claim that Martin Bryant is not guilty of the Port Arthur massacre, but gives concrete evidence in a government publication that suggests government foreknowledge and involvement, which, if true, makes this incident, where 35 people were killed and 23 wounded, a government-sponsored terrorist incident to traumatise the Australian population. This site was sponsoring a petition. The specific information of government foreknowledge comes from a post on this site by Keith Noble. Keith has sent a show cause notice to Stephen Shane Parry, the President of the Senate of the Commonwealth of Australia. I was concerned that the Stephen Parry in the incriminating evidence may not be the same Stephen Parry who is the President of the Senate. So I did a search of parliamentary website for President of the Senate and the qualifications and occupation before entering Parliament, and they suggest to me that the President of the Senate is the same Stephen Parry. And I want to just read some of the qualifications and occupation before entering Federal Parliament of Steve Parry. It says graduation certificate, Tasmania Police Academy. Certificate in Mortuary Science, Australian College of Funeral Service. Master Funeral Director, Australian College of Funeral Service. Police Officer 1977 to 86 and Detective 1983 to 86. Funeral Director 1986 to 2004 and Embalmer 1995 to 2004. And then it goes on about the Rotary Club and the Surf Lifing Club and a whole range of things that are not relevant to us. These are the details of the show cause notice sent to Stephen Parry by Keith Noble. This is a show cause notice to Stephen Shane Parry, Embalmer and ex-cop, President, Senate of Australia, Liberal Party member, Tasmania, Australia. And it's from Keith Noble. And basically it states that you are the President of the Senate of Australia. You have been a Liberal Party Senator for the state of Tasmania since 2004. Prior to that time, you were an embalmer in Tasmania. It goes on to say, on the 11th or 12th of March 1997, a seminar addressing the said shooting incident at Port Arthur was held in Melbourne, Australia. It was organised by the Tasmanian State Disaster Committee and sponsored by Emergency Management Australia. And then he lists the papers numbers. At the seminar, these papers were compiled and published by Emergency Management Australia, and then he sets out the Dewey identification number so anyone can find it in their library. He then goes down to say on page 112 of the said book, which is in the middle of your paper, you stated the following sentences. I was particularly impressed by the quick response and initiatives by some of the team members in packaging and collecting equipment. The response time and the amount of equipment quickly relocated was fantastic. One firm in particular, Nelson Brothers, had organised for an embalming machine box and a special large equipment case to be manufactured ready for the incident. These two containers were the envy of all embalmers and worked extremely well. I would suggest that design specifications may be available from this firm for future considerations by other firms. Now then he further says, there is no uncertainty in your words. The said equipment was large, possessed significant design specifications, and was made prior to and for the incident at Port Arthur, Tasmania. Okay, so there we are. There is no uncertainty in your words. He then further goes on to say, you are herewith asked to show cause by sworn affidavit why the people of Australia should not believe your words, implying Nelson Brothers in Melbourne had prior knowledge of an incident in which the state would kill people, evidenced by that funeral services company having had special embalming equipment, quote, manufactured ready for the incident, end of quote. If your affidavit is not received by me on or before the 16th of March 2016, and if it does not contain verifiable references as well as the names of officials who support your position declared therein, it can be concluded that you wrote the truth in your embalming paper. And thus it will be accepted that Nelson Brothers willfully participated in the official incident at Port Arthur, Tasmania in 1996. And then he goes on to give his address and phone number, etc., etc. This is the cover of the EMA report in which the incriminating evidence was found. These are the details on the cover. A record of proceedings of the Port Arthur Seminar, 11 to the 12th of March 1997, Melbourne, Victoria, Australia, organised by Tasmania State Disaster Committee and sponsored by Emergency Management Australia. And then they have their logo down below. The first three images are to show the name of the author and the page numbers of the EMA report. So if anybody wants to follow it up, they know that I'm not making this up. This confirms Keith Noble's claims in his show cause notice. The other images merely show the rest of the page and the page number. This brings me to the special mortuary truck ordered prior to the massacre and offered for sale not long after. This is confirmed in the coroner's article in the EMA report, and I will read that now. Pursuant to his contract with Mortuary Ambulance Services, Ray Charlton must provide his own vehicles. He organised 2 vehicles to travel from Hobart. His usual mortuary ambulance is an ex-Tasmanian Ambulance Service Ford F100 capable of carrying 4 bodies. Also present was a Chevrolet truck to the chassis of which Mr. Charlton had attached a refrigerated covered compartment capable of storing 16 bodies. This vehicle had, in the past, been regarded by many as an expensive aberration that would never have a use. At Port Arthur, it was a highly prized possession. End of quote. This is just one more coincidence, along with the hundreds of blankets that were delivered to Port Arthur just prior to the massacre, according to Wendy Skerr. And perhaps it's a coincidence that suddenly on the day, 2 busloads of North American tourists arrived unannounced. Lastly, let us speak of more coincidences. These images are from the Adelaide Institute website, and it says, quote, 2 more very handy seminars. On the Sunday morning, some 25 specialist doctors, Royal Australian College of Surgeons, from all over Australia, attended a training course in Hobart, and their last lecture was on terrorist attack and gunshot wounds. They stayed on to take care of the wounded victims. Also, more than 700 reporters from 17 nations came to a seminar in Hobart. They were asked to arrive during the weekend as the seminar was due to begin on Monday morning. How handy to have 700 scribblers on the spot churning out their anti-gun and disarmament propaganda to the whole world. End of quote. Now, I've not confirmed these claims from source, and I'm concerned that the many websites carrying this information may be taking it from each other and not from source. I did, however, notice that Keith Noble, in his free book Mass Murder, has more specific details about these seminars, and he does seem particularly fastidious in his research. I have seen references to a story in the Hobart Mercury, but unfortunately I have not been able to access myself. Now, I'd like to read this article from Keith Noble's book, or booklet. There were 3 official gatherings which took place around the same time that the historic site incident occurred. 1. On the 27th to the 28th of April, an Emergency Medical Services Training EMST program was held at the clinical school near Royal Hobart Hospital. It was attended by many senior trauma management specialists from Southeast Australia. 2. Staff, 10 managers and supervisors, some of whom have worked at the Port Arthur Historic Site, PAHS, on 28th of April, were on that very day expected to attend a workshop at a place, Swansea, 2.5 driving hours from PAHS. Never before had a training session away from the site been planned, and by all accounts, there has never been one since away from the site. And 3, About 700 journalists, print and television, from 17 countries were in Hobart for a conference which commenced on the 29th of April. These 3 gatherings were highly significant, so much so it is inconceivable that their common occurrence was coincidence. And that's the end of the quote from Keith Noble's book. Now, I can't wait to see Stephen Parry respond to the show cause notice and how the other conspirators react to this chink in their armour. Up until now, they've really locked this whole Port Arthur thing down. They've had the press, the television, everybody behaving like a closed shop, so nothing got out. And now we've finally found a chink. So I'm waiting in anticipation. Thank you for that.